everyone. Hope everyone is refreshed from their global meditation.
Huh? What are we doing today?
Today, I'm going to show you guys how to plant seeds for your garden. So we got a bunch of seeds here. We got pots with soil in them. I'll show you guys how to make these little pots. These are just out of grocery store bags, little paper bags. So you don't have to worry about going to the store and actually buying pots. These are really convenient. You can also use your little eggshell cartons. I'll kind of explain why these are not as ideal as these.
What do we need today if people are doing this at home right now?
So you need a grocery store bag. You need to cut it into strips that are about 3 inches wide, and about 6 or 7 inches long. You'll need a little pencil to plant your seeds. You'll need seeds. You'll need some sort of small bottle. A Dr. Bronners bottle actually works great. And I'll show you how to make these things out of this.
And if they don't have the presser, should they use a milk carton or an egg carton?
Use a Dr. Bronner's bottle. This is just the easiest thing I could find. It's small enough. Something that's kind of it's cylindrical, like a bottle, and it's small enough to make a little pot for a seedling. So I have this thing that's actually really convenient. It makes these little pots for you. I'll show you how it works. It's called a paper potter. All you do is wrap the paper around this little plug like this, and then you fold the paper down to the bottom of the plug, kind of squish it down like that. And then you push it onto this thing, give it a little bit of shape, kind of flatten out the bottom, and then you have a little pot.
So for everyone just joining, can you explain what we're doing again today?
We're planting seeds, and I'm going to show you guys how to make little paper pots for your seedlings. We have the little paper pots, and then we have the egg cartons. So I have this little thing that makes these little paper pots. It's really convenient. It's called a paper potter. They're really cheap. I think they're like $5 or $10. And you could use it forever. And also, if you have a little Dr. Bronner's soap bottle, you can also use that. I'll show you how that works. So you'll take your piece of paper that's about 3 inches by 6 inches, 3 inches wide by 6 inches long, 6 or 7 inches long. You'll wrap the paper around the bottle like this, and you'll kind of stuff the bottom into the bottom of the bottle. And you want to squish it onto the table or a surface to make the bottom as flat as it can be, so the pot will stand up straight. You pull it out like that. The only problem with using the Dr. Bronner's bottle is you really want to make sure that the bottom stays flat, so you'll have to experiment a little bit. Sometimes I'll actually go around the edges and pinch them to make it sort of inset like that, and the paper will stand up straight on its own. So these are all paper pots made with that method. They hold the soil great, and they also, when you're ready to plant your plants, you don't need to pull the paper off. You can just plant the plant with this paper in it. So that's how you make your own paper pots. You could also buy just regular seeding trays. It's a little bit more expensive, but this is just kind of sort of at home, do it yourself. Now we're gonna plant some seeds. And so today I have tobacco seeds, which have not been successful at germinating, but we're gonna try.
We love this brand. Also, if you are trying to get seeds for your garden, They're the best.
We got sunflowers, giant sunflower seeds. We got 2 packs of those. We got holy basil, Tulsi, and then Swiss chard. So we're gonna start first with the Tulsi seeds. And kind of as a rule of thumb, you wanna plant a seed about 2 times the depth of the diameter of the seed. Here you can see Tulsi seeds are extremely tiny. So really when you plant these, you just want to sprinkle them on the top of the soil and sort of bury them just slightly. Enough so when they sprout, the first leaves can get a little bit of sun, but there's enough protection in there to keep them moist. So for the Tulsi seeds, since they're so small, you can kind of use a couple of them. Not every single one will germinate. So we're just sprinkling the Tulsi seeds into the top of the soil. Probably a few seeds in each one. All right. So what you want to do now, I have a little pencil that I'm going to use. Kind of just mix the top of the soil, try to make sure those seeds get into the surface of the soil, just below the surface. Mix it around just a little bit. Mix it around. You could also use your finger to do this. And this one. All right, so the Tulsi seeds are done. Spill a little bit of soil there. You want to make sure that you're labeling your seeds because it's really easy to get confused in what's what. So I have little Tulsi labels here. Right there. Looks like I'm missing one, so I'll label that one later. So now we'll move on to the sunflowers. For those of you who are just joining us, I showed you guys how to make little paper pots out of the paper potter or a little bottle of Dr. Bronners by wrapping it around the bottle, kind of shoving the bottom layer inward to make a flat surface, so the pots will stand up straight. So for sunflower seeds, when you're planting these are pretty large. You usually want to, again, you want to use the general rule of thumb that you plant the seed twice as deep as the width of the seed. So sunflower seeds get planted a little bit deeper than these smaller Tulsi seeds that we were working with. So it's really easy to use a pencil for this. You kind of just stick a hole in the center of your pots. I'll do it to a few of these pots. You can kind of see, you want to zoom in on that. So little holes in your pots. Oops. Here. All right, now we're gonna drop the seeds in. Let's see here. There's one there, one there, one there, drop there. Looks like this. Just need one more seed. And right there. So if you kind of zoom in here, you can see we're trying to get these well below the surface there. But you don't want to get them too low because you want them to be able to get sunlight once they germinate. But you want to be able to protect them enough to keep the moisture in the soil so the seed doesn't dry out. So what we'll do now is cover these seeds up gently. You don't want to press them too hard. So just a gentle cover. All right. Now we're going to label these so we don't forget what they are. These are sunflowers. And you want to put the date that you planted them. So in a week or so, if there's nothing coming up, you might have to start over.
This album, by the way, is Blind Willie McTell, and he's amazing.
So we'll stick these aside. Next, we're going to do a little bit of chard and tobacco seed. Tobacco seed is even smaller than Tulsi. I'll try to show you what these look like, but they are insanely tiny. So these you want to be really careful not to plant too deep, and just even moving the soil around over top of them can be too deep. But at the same time, you still want to keep it. You want to keep the soil as moist as possible for them to germinate, and you want to get them deep enough so that they stay in that moisture level. So what I'm going to do here with these tiny seeds, again, is just sprinkle them on top of the soil. A few seeds in each one, and what we're using here is a used milk carton, or a milk container, or sorry, egg container, milk. So sprinkling these tobacco seeds on top. I think that should be good. So I'm gonna stick a label in here to separate these. And you'll want to just kind of mix the soil on top here a little bit. Make sure the seeds are very slightly covered. There we go. What's good about a milk container is that the material that it's made out of, it's really absorbent for water, so the actual egg carton will stay moist along with the soil. And then another cool thing about it is you don't actually need to take the soil out of the container. You can just plant these directly into your garden. The trick is just to be able to rip them out. Once it's moist, it's usually really easy to separate them. So those are our tobacco seeds. Let's stick these here. And then in these four areas, we're going to do Swiss chard. And again, this is a really great seed company. All Good Things Organic Seeds. I think they're based out of Ojai. So local to LA if you're living in the LA area. Otherwise, you can buy seeds online from Johnny's Seeds. High Mowing Seeds in Vermont. They're a really great seed company. Or you can just search organic seeds online. You'll find all sorts of different companies. So next we'll be doing...
Why should someone stick to organic?
I mean, using organic seeds is just kind of supporting the organic cultivation practices. If you grow a seed that's not organic, as long as it's not genetically modified, you can grow a conventional seed, and there's not going to be, it'll be organic. It's not going to contain pesticides or anything. Conventional seeds are usually a little bit cheaper, but there's usually not that much of a difference when you're buying such small amounts for a home garden. So I usually would recommend buying organic seeds.
We do live in California as well. We live in Venice Beach.
So what you want to do here is make a little hole for the chard seed. And in general, you want to kind of make the depth of the hole twice as large as the seed itself, or twice as deep. This helps to cover the seed up and keep it in a nice moist environment. So we'll stick these back. Usually on the back of these seed packets, there's all sorts of good information, just in terms of how long you expect the seeds to take to germinate, how you should space the seeds out when you're planting them in your garden, the depth of the seed. This seed is probably a little bit less than 1/4 inch, so they're saying that you should plant it about 1/2 inch depth. And then there's all sorts of other information about when to plant them and the time of the year and everything like that.
Can you explain the egg carton again on how you can take it apart and put it straight into the garden?
Yeah, so once the egg carton gets moist, it gets really easy to tear the material. And the egg carton will just stay as pretty much as moist as the soil. So it helps to keep the soil at a consistent moisture level. But once it's all ready to go, you don't want to actually, in some cases, it's going to be very difficult to pull the soil out with the little seedling in it, just because the container will start falling apart. So what you can try to do is rip the little quadrants out, and then basically you can kind of pop them off once this thing gets moist, and then you just plant those directly into your soil. Same with these things, the little paper pots. You don't need to actually pull the seedling out of here. You just plant this directly into your garden, and this will decompose while the seed grows, and the roots will be able to grow through the actual paper pot. So I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover the charred seeds here. That's good. All right, so we're good to go. We have labels in our plants. You want to make sure you label your plants with the name of the seed as well as the date that you planted them. So then you can come back to the back of your seed packet and make sure, in 5 to 7 days that your seeds are germinating. If they're not germinating, you might have to start over. Next thing.
Mo, are you helping? Are you helping Cody?
Next thing you want to do is water your seeds. You want to try to not use tap water because there's chlorine and all sorts of harmful elements in your tap water. It's better to use some sort of filtered water or some sort of purified water for your seeds. And you want to be careful when you're first watering your seeds because you don't want to toss the soil around by pouring the water in. And I'm just using a little container here. So you just kind of want to gently moisten the seeds. There we go.
What type of soil are we using?
This is just regular potting soil. I think the brand is Black Gold. But any potting soil is usually contains a mixture of nutrients and organic matter, sort of made for planting seeds. So you're pretty safe using any type of potting soil. Again, I would recommend organic potting soil, but if you choose not to use organic potting soil, that is totally your choice. So we're gonna pour some water in here.
Also, if you don't have a big backyard, this is still great to start in doing herbs and growing them inside if you live in a city.
Right, and everyone, we live in a city, so while we do have a garden in our backyard, you could still grow these things in your windowsill. You can put them in the little area between your sidewalk and the road if you want to plant flowers.
It's Earth Day coming up,
Earth Day is
so
coming
it's
up.
important to get planting.
All right. So we're trying not to soak them too, try not to make them too wet. You want to keep a pretty consistent moisture level that's not too wet and it's not too dry. If it's too wet, then there's going to be no oxygen for the seed to breathe or for the soil to breathe, and it will not be able to germinate. If there's too little water, the seed will not have enough moisture to actually germinate either. Here we go. All right.
Wow, beautiful.
And you don't want to pour a ton of water on top of them so the soil starts flying everywhere. This is perfect. So I have 3 pots here that I did not plant. What I'm gonna go do is put this in my backyard. If you want, you can also, for the people who are using egg cartons, one thing that I'll recommend with the egg carton is while the actual material of the egg carton is pretty breathable and it absorbs the moisture, I like to poke a little hole in the very bottom of it just to drain any excess water out. So what you can do now is stick your egg cartons in your windowsill like this, That should be plenty to get your seeds going. You'll want to check them every day to make sure that they still have moisture content. These egg cartons will dry out a little quicker than most other pots. These paper pots will also dry out pretty quick, just because they're so breathable. But now I'm going to stick these in my backyard. I'm going to check on them every day, give them a little bit of water if necessary. And then in about 5 to 7 days, I should have little sprouts. I'll let those sprouts grow for another few days, and then I'll stick them in my garden beds. Does anyone have any questions about the process?
Also, for everyone asking on the album, this is the album we were playing on vinyl, and plants love music. So play your favorite tunes.
Yes. Highly recommended. Play your favorite tunes when you're planting your seeds.
Yeah, we love planting in Ram Dass. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and the rest of your quarantine. We'll see you back
Sundays
next
with Cody.
Sunday.
Bye. That was the best one. By far, you should have seen my